Good day to everyone. My name is Brittany Anthony, and I'm here to present the framework for the monitoring and controlling structure used during the execution of Jamaica's Agricultural Support Services project. Presenting with me are my fellow group members, Alison Armstrong, Greg Anderson, Lisa Grant Francis, and Hilberto Bernandez. This presentation will focus on the following sections: the introduction, project overview and objectives, core concepts of the knowledge area, application of tools and techniques to the project, the analysis of the data, lessons learned, recommendations, and finally the conclusion and referencing cited throughout this project. To start off, it is important to understand that agriculture is essential to Jamaica's future because of its ability to create jobs, reduce trade imbalances, improve food security, and earn foreign cash. Jamaica has a broad agricultural sector with crops such as sugar, bananas, cocoa, and citrus all playing essential roles in production, employment, agro-industry growth, exports, and to some extent, local food consumption. The Jamaican government is committed to ensuring food security by substituting imports and meeting the robust export demand for tropical fruits and vegetables, thereby providing current and potential investors with sustainable and viable investment options. As a result, the Inter-American Development Bank and the Government of Jamaica co-financed the Agricultural Support Services Project, which ran from February 2001 to August 2009. With the Agricultural Support Services Project, the Jamaican government acknowledges the significance of agriculture and have established numerous policies and initiatives to support the sector. The project was implemented in three stages. Component 1 begins with strengthening the delivery of agricultural support services to improve the efforts of agricultural extensions, research, marketing, and strategic information to producers and exporters. This effort is expected to enhance production by 30% over the course of the 4-year term. Component 2 is intended to improve the effectiveness of animal health, plant health, and food safety systems. This is to protect domestic customers and domestic industry from diseases and contamination, while also guaranteeing that Jamaica's exports meet international standards. To accomplish this, the government created suitable policies, modified legislation, and put in place the required coordinating structures. Lastly, component 3 is concerned with financing activities in high-yielding productive projects. This is to improve the competitiveness and profitability of Jamaica's agricultural producers and exporters by implementing productive projects in various rural areas that took advantage of new opportunities in the non-traditional farm sectors. This is the project overview and objectives. It was anticipated that implementing the Agricultural Support Services project will result in enhanced enterprise profitability on a long-term basis, increased labor, and an increased value of agricultural commodity exports. The fundamental goal of this initiative was to improve Jamaica's agricultural competitiveness in local and worldwide markets, thereby dramatically improving the agricultural producers' revenues. The objectives of this project were to develop critical capacities for providing effective agricultural services, improve the quality and standards of agricultural commodities produced in Jamaica and traded internationally, and to develop and implement high payoff productive projects in selective rural areas. I will now pass you on to my colleague Hilberto, who will discuss the core concepts of the knowledge area used in this presentation.
The discussion of core concepts covers the knowledge area taught in this course. Number one, validate and control scope. Agriculture has been about the people since its inception, roughly 10,000 years ago, and how they respond to their changing environment in ways that allow people to live. The Jamaican government, in partnership with Inter-American Development Bank, monitor and control the project scope to ensure it remains within the agricultural sector. The government will hold consultation to confirm the scope. The consultation guarantees that all important project stakeholders are informed of the project modification, which can then be examined further to identify the impacts and desired addition of resources, timetable, quality, and budget. This meeting will also assist the Inter-American Development Bank in understanding the project scope, the definition, the project planning, and the scope change verification. Number two, control schedule. According to the Project Management Academy, the process of monitoring schedule progress against the baseline is called control schedule. Project planning, monitoring, and controlling all go together when executing a project and keeping it on track to meet IDB deadlines. In project management, schedule control monitors the Ministry of Agricultural Activities task to ensure that the Agricultural Support Service project proceeds as planned. It is necessary to understand schedule control and how the Ministry of Agriculture can apply it to the project to complete them on time and under budget. One of the fundamental responsibilities of the project management is to keep track of the project progress relative to the schedule. This allows the managers to identify whether the project is ahead or behind schedule and take appropriate corrective measures if necessary. Number three, cost control. Project cost control is a vital aspect of the project cost management, and it entails monitoring project spending to ensure it aligns with the baseline expectation throughout its life cycle. In case of deviation, corrective measures are taken to bring back the project on track. In context of agricultural support service project, controlling its expense is essential for the satisfaction of the Ministry of Agriculture and the project profitability. The project manager plays an important role in budget creation and tracking the spending. Number four, change control. Change in a project can significantly impact the scope, schedule, and budget, leading to a significant increase in the work for a project team. Hence, it is vital to maintain change control. Change control is a procedure used to modify the project approved baseline. It is the process used to make change to any aspect of the project. Change control is essential because it provides guidelines for increased accountability and structure. It allows for better decision making by providing total visibility of the project change. Some benefits of change control include improved communication, increased visibility, improved decision making due to availability of information, and enhanced process due to the strategy implemented to manage the change. The Agricultural Support Service Project Change Control was managed by the Project Implementation Unit. Number five, control communication. Control communication in project management is a process of controlling and monitoring communication so that the required information reaches all the stakeholders. The benefit of control communication is that it provides the optimal flow of information to all the project participants. Communication management is critical so that there is no miscommunication on a job site. Control communication is important in dealing with different parts of the project, including individual performance feedback report, progress on the schedule, information related to new baseline, cost status, and forecast. Number six, control stakeholders engagement. Stakeholders are critical to the success of any project. Engaging stakeholders is an important project management activity. Managing and controlling stakeholders' engagement is more than just responding to their concern, but also involve anticipating different project requirements and ensure that the engagement plan of stakeholders is sustained. Control stakeholders engagement is a process that monitors the entire project and the stakeholders' relationship. Input from stakeholders was used to create a work performance information, change requests, and update on management plan, project documents, and organizational process. Control stakeholders engagement ensures the commitment of stakeholders during the project. It also ensures that their expectations are met. Number 7, control procurement. Control procurement is a process used by organizations to procure goods and services in a controlled and consistent approach. It helps to ensure that the organization receives its need in a timely and cost-effective manner, reduce waste, and avoid duplication of efforts. Control procurement ensures accurate and timely information is available to make sound decisions about procurement. Lastly, it mitigates and minimizes disputes over changes or modifications to purchase goods or services. Controlled procurement is important for two reasons. It enables organizations to ensure that the products and services they procure meet the specific needs and expectations. And again, lastly, controlled procurement assists in ensuring that vendors comply with contract obligations and provide quality goods and services at a fair price. Number 8, control quality and risk. Quality control is a process that involves inspecting, testing, and reporting outputs to ensure that they meet the requirements of the project. The ability of the Jamaican government to improve agricultural sector is untimely limited by its ability to raise the necessary funds from the other sources. To continue attracting investment, the Jamaican government must be able to identify how the most significant benefit can be realized, articulate precisely what the benefit will be, demonstrate a professional and logical approach to its realization, and demonstrate that the benefit was realized. The Office of Evaluation and Oversight identified certain factors that hinder the effectiveness, efficiency, and accountability of the bank governing bodies. The validation and verification body certified by the Inter-American Development Bank will carry out activity of scope validation to maintain quality. Number 9, close procurement. Close procurement is a process of completing each project procurement. It involves the process verify that all work and deliverables were acceptable. The original aim was for the Ministry of Agriculture to procure the items. However, the Jamaican government established a project implementation unit within the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries to manage the procurement. Number 10, close project. Project closure is the last phase of a project. This is when the project manager verifies that the client, stakeholders, or customers is satisfied and has accepted the project deliverables. The project manager reviews the entire project before closing it. The project team is usually a part of this process, offering their observation and feedback, which is collected in lesson learned. Additionally, all relevant documents should be archived as historical data. The closed project process is essentially the process in which all project's activities, work, and tasks are finalized.
Application of tools and techniques to the project. Scope validation and control are essential processes that ensure a project meets its objectives and stakeholder expectations. The Agricultural Support Services project utilized tools and techniques such as decision-making and inspections to validate and control scope. If a scope change was identified, the project team evaluated its impact on the project objectives, deliverables, schedule, and budget. The team then assessed the change's feasibility and used decision-making to determine whether adjusting the project scope was necessary. To control the Agricultural Support Services project schedule, various tools and techniques were utilized, including earned value analysis, performance reviews, variance analysis, and project management information systems. By using these tools and techniques, the project manager could determine whether the project was behind or ahead of schedule and make the necessary adjustments to ensure timely completion. Effective cost control is essential for the project manager to ensure that the project stays within budget and meets objectives. The Agricultural Support Services project utilized earned value analysis to measure project performance by tracking the relationship between the budget and project completion percentage. Variance analysis helped to determine whether the project was under or above budget, while performance indices like the Cost Performance Index provided an overall picture of financial efficiency. The project also utilized various tools and techniques to control procurement. These included contract change control system, procurement performance reviews, inspections and audits to ensure procurement processes and procedures were followed correctly. Checklists, inspections, and performance reviews were used to control quality throughout the project. Additionally, risk audits and reviews were conducted to monitor and manage risks, while expert judgments and meetings were utilized to control communications and stakeholder engagement. Finally, in the closing of the project, tools and techniques such as expert judgment and meetings were used to ensure that administrative closure activities were performed to the appropriate standards. Meetings were conducted to cover lessons learned, closeout processes and user groups, while record management systems were used to manage contracts and procurement documentations and records.
Let's discuss the analysis of monitoring and controlling the project. Variance analysis was used to compare planned activity against budgeted activities. Earned value. The use of earned value method, data were collected from the field and other sources to evaluate the status of the agricultural support services project and forecast its cost performance. Cost variance analysis was essential for the project manager to track each budget item's milestone and check-in points from inception to completion to determine whether or not the project was under or over budget. Performance indices such as the cost performance index are crucial in determining a project's financial efficiency. The project had an earned value of $28,350,000, but actual costs were $24,500,000. This resulted in a cost performance index of 1.16, indicating that the project outperformed its budget. Estimate to completion. The project team used estimates to determine how much funds were needed to complete the project, while estimate at completion was used to forecast the total cost of the project upon completion. Communication. Stakeholder analysis matrix. This was used to determine the level of involvement and management strategy based on the stakeholders' analysis and interest matrix. Communication matrix. Within the communication plan was a communication matrix that identifies the communications requirement for this project. Risk analysis. A risk management plan was developed. Procurement risk register was used to monitor and control the procurement risk of the project and was consistently updated throughout the project. Performance reporting. Steps taken to monitor and evaluate the performance of vendors and service providers under the Agricultural Support Service Project included clear performance indicators, reporting regularly, inspections and audits, performance evaluations, contract administration, and stakeholder engagement.
Like all projects, there were lessons learned during and at the completion of the ASSP project. Some of these lessons include the original project timeline of 4 years was insufficient. As a result of this, a decision was made to extend the life of the project as the initial 4-year period did not take into consideration the completion of startup activities and resolving issues pertaining to food safety.
Another lesson learned was the execution of monitoring and evaluation, which lacked the use of baseline data, benchmarks, and expected outcomes. Because of this, it was difficult to assess and quantify the project's impact or effectiveness. Additionally, the process of selecting project beneficiaries was carried out based on a broad set of criteria, which resulted in persons who already had access to financial markets being beneficiaries of grants and technical support. Additionally, the mechanism used in Component 3 to select projects for funding resulted in a bias towards specific projects. The selected projects being selected did not always exhibit a high level of promise. Another lesson was that the project adopted a producer-eccentric approach, which was focused solely on issues pertaining to producers. Because of this, issues at other nodes of the value chain was neglected. The logical framework of the project was complicated and consisted of 51 output and outcomes which were not interrelated and proved inadequate. Another lesson learned was the frequent rotation of the bank's responsible officer. This resulted in project delays as the officer always needed some time for onboarding. A lesson which had a positive impact on the project was the quick fulfillment of initial requirements, which resulted in quick loan disbursement and prompt commencement of the project's execution. Another lesson which had a positive impact on the project dealt with the negative mindset the producer groups had towards the purpose and potential of agricultural projects. This was dealt with through sociological intervention, which led to a shift in the mindset of these groups. And lastly, projects which were supported under this program were those with a clear market opportunity. This resulted in projects being considered sustainable and profitable when provided with support. Based on the lessons learned discussed previously, the following recommendations were made. Before establishing a project schedule, it is crucial to consider the startup and administrative tasks and other issues that may impact the sector. Also, it is recommended to conduct a baseline study prior to project implementation in order to gather data that will be utilized for evaluation purposes. Additionally, it is recommended that the requirements be made more rigorous in order to guarantee that the individuals who receive technical assistance and grant funding are truly deserving of such aid. It is also recommended that a competitive mechanism be established and implemented with a clearly defined set of criteria that takes into account the project's potential to make a meaningful contribution to the agricultural sector as well as the availability of counterpart funding. Also, future projects should adopt a comprehensive approach that takes into account the entire food chain. Also, the correlation between the output and outcomes of future projects is crucial to accurately attribute future benefits to the project's success. Additionally, to facilitate a seamless transition and minimize any potential delays, it is recommended that the onboarding process for the officer be conducted 3 months prior to the person assuming that role. Another recommendation was that always fulfill initial requirements expeditiously to avoid any delays at the start of project implementation. Also, we must always consider the behavior and attitudes of important stakeholders and develop strategies to secure their support. And lastly, it is imperative to ensure that the projects that receive support are connected to our market and possess the ability to generate profit and maintain sustainability.
Conclusion. The success of the project required an accurate monitoring and controlling framework. Monitoring and controlling were consistently done throughout the project. Corrective actions were also taken to ensure all stages of the project were executed as planned through constant assessment of actual performance against planned performance. All change requests were carefully analyzed to determine the importance of the change, and where necessary, changes were made through formal change request procedures. Quality controls and risk audits were also conducted to ensure compliance. Lessons learned were documented throughout this project and recommendations were made that should be considered for future projects.
These are the references that were cited throughout this project. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you.